we're skipping up to chapter 5. And I thought I taught 5.1, but I was looking through my worksheets and my quizzes and stuff, and I don't have anything from 5.1 on there. So I must have skipped 5.1 for some reason. I'm not really sure why. So I'll just stick with what I've done the last few years. Okay, so we'll just go right to 5.2. All right, we only have a couple weeks left, so I figured we'd just try to streamline a little bit more and just hit some stuff that I thought might be a little bit more important, stuff that you might see later on if you take a math class in college or something like that. Okay? Excuse me. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about exponentials. Exponential. So, of course, the word exponent is in there. Exponentials. Did I spell this right? How am I not spelling this? I-A-L. Yeah, that's the way I spelled it. Just didn't look right. I don't know. Exponential. Is that right? Exponential. Yeah, that's right. Some reason. You ever do that? Write a word that you're fairly accustomed to, and you look at it, and you're like, that just doesn't look right. But it is. All right, so we're going to talk about exponential functions. And your basic, and what we did on this last chapter actually kind of dovetails exactly into what we're doing today. So this kind of stuff should be a little bit more familiar. We're just going to do one more graphing. Remember, we did a linear graph, we did a square root, we did a square, we did a cube, we did an inverse. Okay, you can just kind of like add this to your list of different types of graphing that we're going to do. And this is an exponential graph. And so your basic everyday exponential graph looks like this. I'm going to put a 2 right here. Yeah, let's put a 2. All right. So what I'm going to do, actually, if you wanted to, you could write y is equal to like b to the x or something. Okay, that would be your, your very general graph, and you could put any numbers in for b. But this time, look at where our x is. Our x is not the exponent, because remember what we graphed before. We did a squared thing, didn't we? We went x squared. You see how this is different than this? X is your base right here. What is x here? It's your what? You with us there, Tiff? You awake? Well, at least you're the only one that answered, so that was good. So I'll take a yawning answer more than just a stare down. So yeah, that's an exponent right there. Okay, so this time our variable, our x, is an exponent, which looks a little different. So remember what we said before. You could pretty much graph many equations if you use that XY chart, and that's what we're going to do right here. Let's do this chart and see what it looks like. So let's put a few numbers in here. We can put some negatives in here. Can you have a negative as an exponent? Yeah, you can. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's put a -2 in there, all right? And then we'll work our way up. Let's put a -1, let's put a 0, let's put a +1 and a +2. See what goes in here. All right, so what are we going to do? We're going to take these x's and we're going to put them in for this x right there. And we're going to see what this graph looks like. So let's put some stuff in. So y equals 2 to the x. So the first x that I said was going to be -2. So let's go 2 to the negative. I'll tell you what, let's put a -1 in there first. Is that all right? I think it might make it a little bit easier to understand. So let's put a -1.
1/2.
That's right. And we've talked about this before. If you take something to the negative first power, it's really the inverse of it, isn't it? All right, so 2 to the negative first is the same as 1/2. So if I put a -1 in for x, what's the y going to be? It's going to be 1/2. Right? It's the same stuff we've been doing. Same kind of stuff. It's just a different equation. That's really the only thing different here. Still plugging and chugging and see what we get. Let's put the -2 in now. So now we kind of remember a little bit about this inverse stuff. So let's put a -2. So it's going to be 2 to the -2. Right? Because 2 is our base, and we take it to whatever x we're going to stick in there. So 2 to the -2. 2 to the -2 is this. It's 1 over, remember this, when you take a negative exponent, you flip it to the bottom, and you flip it to the bottom, and you change the sign of the exponent. So it's 1 over 2 squared. What's 1 over 2 squared? It's 1 over 4. So if I put a -2 in for this, 2 to the -2 is 1/4. Let's keep going and put some numbers, other numbers in there. Let's put a 0 in for x. So it's going to be 2 to the 0. Well, what's anything to the 0 power? We've discussed that earlier this year. Is it 0? It's 1. Anything to the 0 power is a 1. It's not a 1 times 2. It's not 2 to the first. It's just the number 1. Anything to the 0 power. I could put an x in there, not even know what the number is. I could put x to the 0. What's x to the 0? It's a 1. That means anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. Okay? So that's what we get right there. So let's put this in there. If I put a 0 in for this, I get a 1. That's going to be very helpful. Let's put a positive 1 in for x. So it's going to be 2 to the positive first. What's 2 to the first? That's easy. That's 2. And let's put a 2 in for x. So I get 2 to the second. 2 to the second is a positive 4. There it is. So there's our little chart. So what are we going to do with this little chart now? We're going to use this to do what? To graph it, right. So let's put the chart over here. Just want to give myself some room to graph. And let's put a little x and y axis here. Let's see what this thing's going to look like. And let's see, I can put some negatives. So put a -1, -2, +1, +2. Let's see how high up it goes. It goes up to 4, doesn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. And you don't have to put any negatives in, do you, for y? So let's plug some numbers in. Let's do this in a different color. Let's go this pink. Alright, so let's put some numbers in here. Let's start with a 0 first. Alright, let's start right there. You could start up here if you wanted to. I'm going to put the 0 in. So when x is 0, remember this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. When x is 0, what's the y going to be? It's going to be 1. So the ordered pair is 0, 1. So put a dot right there. Let's do the positives. They're a little bit easier. Then we'll do the ones that are negative. Put a positive 1 in here. So if I put a positive 1 in for x, what do I get for y? Get a 2. So that's 1, 2. And then this is 2, 4. 2, 4. Is that going to be a straight line? I kind of spread this out a little bit too much. I should have done this on graph paper. I'll tell you what. You know what I'm going to do? Let's, you can just keep that there. You don't have to erase anything. It's just what I'm going to do here. Let's change this and let's put some graph paper on here just to make it look a little bit more, I don't know, what? Nice, perfect, whatever. Let's do that. Let's paste that, and let's make that a different color so I can see it. Alright, let's put that down here. Alright, let's try this again. But we'll do it with graph paper just because it'll be a little bit more precise. 0, 1, right there. 1, 2, right there. And then 2, 4, right there. That looks a little bit better. Because before on that other graph, it kind of looked like it was a straight line. But is this a straight line? If I connect these, do I get a nice straight line? No, I don't. So I'm going to get some kind of a curve, right? But does it just stop right here? No, it keeps on going this way, doesn't it? So if I put in a -1, watch. If I put in -1, how far up do I go? I go up a half. It's kind of like those inverse functions, isn't it? It's kind of like both. It's kind of like an inverse function and a squared function, to tell you the truth. A little bit. What do I do here? Put in a -2. If I go -2, how far up do I go? I only go a quarter. So what do you think is going to happen? What if I put a big old number? What if I put like a -10 in there? It's actually going to go up just positive 1/100th, okay? Or actually it'd be smaller than that. It'd be 2 to the 10th, whatever that number is. That's some crazy number. But anyway, you see what happens. It gets small really quick. The further you go this way on the x-axis, your y gets very, very small. Will it ever drop below this x-axis? No, because there's no way this is going to be a negative number. Because when I had 2 to the x, there's no way, no matter what x I put in for this y will never be negative. Because there's no negative out in front, is there? Alright? So what's this thing going to look like? It's going to be a nice curve. And let's see if I can do this. So it's going to get real close to here. And then it's going to do this. And it's going to keep on going. Something like that. It's going to go up like that. It's going to go up like that. It's supposed to be a little smoother right there. You get the idea. I just didn't do that very nice. Alright, so it's supposed to be a nice smooth curve just like this. Look where it goes through. It goes through 0, 1. Right? See that? So it's a little different than what we did before. Kind of looks like the inverse function, and it kind of looks like a hybrid between an inverse function and a squared function, to tell you the truth. but this is an exponential function. Y is equal to 2 to the x. What do you think would happen if I put y is equal to 3 to the x? What do you think would happen to this thing? Well, let's think about this. If I put a 0, watch this. Let's do another xy chart real quick. What if I go y to equals 3 to the x? Let's put a 0 in for that. What's 3 to the 0? Still 1, isn't it? So it still goes through that point right there. What if I put a 1 in there? 3 to the first is what? 3. What if I put a 2 in there? 3 to the second is 9. So it goes up a lot steeper, doesn't it? All right, if I put a negative 1 in for this, what's 3 to the negative first? It's negative, what? 1/3, isn't it? 3 to the negative first, right? It's 1 over 3. Why did I put negative? I shouldn't have put negative, sorry. Yeah, my bad. That was my mistake. I made a mistake. So watch, negative 1, if I put it in here, 3 to the negative first is 1/3. What if I put a negative 2 in for this? This would be what? 3 to the negative second, which would be 1 over 3 squared, which would be what? 1/9. See the relationship between these? If I put a 2, it's a 9. If I put a negative 2, it's a 1/9. If I put in a 1, it's a 3. If I put in a negative 1, it's a 1/3. See that? So it's not just an inverse, but it's an inverse, and we're taking it, yeah, to another power. Okay, so what would this look like? I should have done this a different color. Let's try this green. It still goes through this point right here, but now when I go over 1, I go up, instead of going up 2, I go up what? Go up 3. Instead of up 2 over 4, I'm sorry, instead of over 2 up 4, I go over 2 and up 9, which is way up here, so it's a lot steeper. Okay, I guess I could scooch this down and find where 9 is. 1, 2, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it goes way up here like this. See what the curve looks like? What if I put in a negative 1? What do I get? 1/3. So it's a little bit, see how much steeper it goes? And it's really hard to get real accurate on this thing, but just looking for a general sketch. And then this is the hard part. Oops. This thing's a lot more slippery than, and it keeps on going like that. And it keeps on going like that. Than paper. On paper, you got a little more friction, so it's a little bit easier to draw it. But this thing is real slippery, so it's kind of hard. But anyway, you get the idea, and it looks like that. All right? Does that make sense? All right, let's do a couple other options on this thing. Let me just copy this graph thing, and I'll bring it down. And let's put it, oops.
Let's actually put it on.
Yeah, if I can grab it. Where is it? Come on, there it is. Oops. How's that? Right there? Is that good? Let's do another one. How else do you think we can change this? That's good. So we went, oh, why is that so thick? Oh, because that. So y is equal to, what did we do? We went like 2 to the x, 3 to the x. Okay, you see what's going to happen here. Why don't we try number like 1/2 to the x? Let's see that, Tiffany. Stop. All right, we're going to try this. So what we're going to do is we are going to put in a little x and y axis. So let's put in the same numbers. Let's put in a 0 for this. What's 1/2 to the 0? It's anything to the 0. It's 1. Let's put a 1 in for this. What's 1/2 to the first? It's 1/2. See what it's looking like now? Put in a 2 in for this. What's 1/2 to the second? What's 1/2 squared? It's 1 over 4. 1 over 4. Let's put a negative 1 in for this. So watch. What's 1/2 to the negative first? That means we take this fraction in here and we flip it. So that's 2 to the positive first, so it's a 2.
So it's a flipped version of
exactly. The original one, yeah. You're exactly right. So let's put this. Let's put negative 2 in for there. So 1/2 to the negative second. What's that mean? That negative means we flip that and we take it to the second, and so that's a 4. So now that's what our graph's going to look like. Let's put some stuff in here. It still goes through 0, 1, which is kind of interesting, isn't it? So all of these so far have always gone through 0, 1. And then if you go over 1, you go up 1/2. You go over 2, you only go up 1/4. You go negative 1, and you go up 2. You go -2 and you go up 4. Looks like the same graph, it's just flipped across the y-axis, isn't it? You see that? So when this base, watch, y equals b to the x. When this base right here is between 0 and 1, when it's a fraction, it's between 0 and 1, this is the direction that your graph is going to go. It's going to go down from left to right. That wasn't half bad, that graph right there, okay? So, but when this is between 0 and 1, your graph is going to go down like this. Okay, when this is bigger than 1, when it's 1 or bigger, it's going to go up like that. Actually, what if it was a 1? What if it was y equals 1 to the x? Does it matter what you put in for x? Because what's 1 to any power at all? It's a 1, isn't it? So really, if it was 1 to the x, what happens? It just flattens out and it just goes straight. It would be a horizontal line that goes through the y-axis at 1.
Basically, it flat lines.
It does. Flat lines. That's good. Let's do this. Let's go back to our fun little program here. This GeoGebra thing. And let's see. Let's put some numbers in. We'll get a better looking graph than what I can graph by hand. So let's see what these look like. See if I know how to plug it in. Actually, I'm going to keep it within my little boundaries for my recording program here. So right in those little flashing yellow things. Okay. And
They're green.
did I say yellow? I did say yellow, didn't I? You're right. So let's move that about right there, and let's zoom out a little bit. So let's see, click, click. Actually, I want to zoom in. Sorry, zoom in so I can see a 1. There we go. All right, and then go back to this. I wish they had keyboard shortcuts on this. I know it's a little small, but I'm trying to keep it in my frame for the recording thing. By the way, my recording thing kind of messed up last night. I don't know why. It used to let me record videos longer than 15 minutes, and now they reverted me back, and I tried to upload some videos last night, and they didn't work because they were longer than 15 minutes, and I don't know why. So yes, I probably did, but but it was like that for a long, long time. So I went back to all the videos that I had music on, and I erased them all from my upload thing. So we'll see if it works now.
Or YouTube just might not like it.
Yeah, YouTube, I think they do checks periodically, and if you have things up that violates their copyright rules and stuff, then they shut you down for. They didn't shut my whole YouTube thing down, but it shut me down for not having videos longer than 15 minutes, which kind of stinks. So I've already gone longer than 15 minutes. We'll have to just edit it down or something. I don't know. All right. Might be more trouble than it's worth because I get like 0 views, 1 view from most of the time. Anyway, let's do this. Let's put some stuff in here. Now, I hope I know how to graph this. What, like y equals 2. Oh, use that caret thing, right? Did I use that before? Did I use that before? Yeah, there it is. To the x. Let's see if that works. Yep. How about that? And let's zoom out a little bit, just to get a broader picture of what this thing looks like. All right, see what's going on? It hits 0, 1, doesn't it? And it goes up like this, and it goes down like that. Look, it gets super, super close, doesn't it? But technically, it looks like it touches right here, but does it technically touch? No, not really, okay? But it keeps on going up like this. Let's put in, and we'll put in like 3 of them just to kind of give you an idea. So let's put in y equals, let's go 1/2 to the x power. Now that should look like the exact same thing, except it's flipped across the y-axis. Let's see what that looks like. Yep. Looks exactly, it's symmetric, isn't it? Looks exactly the same, except it's just going the other direction. What's the other one I said we were going to put in? Y equals, let's go 1 to the x. Let's see what that looks like. Now remember what I said, no matter what you put in for x, what am I going to get? I'm going to get y equals 1, right? Doesn't matter what x is, because 1 to any power is equal to 1. So it's going to be y equals 1. So it should be, hopefully, it'll be just a straight line, horizontal line that goes through 1 right there. Let's see. Boom. Yep, I was right. See that? What do you think? What if I did this? What if I took, let's get rid of this one and this one, and let's do that 2 to the x one, but let's put a negative in there, see what that's going to do. What do you think? What's your opinion on if I take this and I make it y equals negative in front and then 2 to the x? What do you think it's going to do to this? Is it going to flip it this way? It's going to flip it down, right? Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so y equals, put a negative right there, and yeah, I think I can just put 2 to the x, 2 to the x. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, just flipped it down, right? Instead of going over 1 and up 2, it goes, or instead of going to the right 1 and up 2, you go to the right 2 and down, or if I could speak, instead of going to the right 1 and up 2, you go to the right 1 and down 2. All right, so it's reversed. All right, what other different options do you think we could do with this? How do you think we could move this thing up and down, left and right? Let's move it up and down. Yeah, let's move it up. Let's put y equals 2 to the x, but then let's see. I don't know if, yeah, I think if I put the plus there, I'm not sure what that's going to do. Let's see. Yeah, it did. It did what I thought it was going to do. Yep. See, 2 to the x plus 1. You see that? And so what did it do? It took that graph, and instead of going through 0, 1, it just goes through 0, 2. It just raised everything up 1 is all it did. Does that make sense? All right. How do you think we're going to move that thing left and right? Yeah. Let's actually change the x value of it. See how this was 2 to the x, and then we just stuck a 1 on the outside. But let's actually change that x. Let's go 2 to the x plus 1 in the exponent, all right, and see what that looks like. Y equals 2. Now, I might have to put this in parentheses. Let's see if it works. I don't know if it works or not. Actually, let's do this. Put the caret thing. Y to the, and now put it in parentheses. X. Now, if we want to move it left or right, what do you think? Let's move it to the right. What do you think we're going to put in there if we move it to the right? Just 1. Yeah, let's put a minus 1. Let's see if that works. I haven't tried this yet with this program, so this is just new to me as well. So what do you think this is going to look like? It probably is going to take this graph and just kind of shift it over here. So instead of 0, 1, it's probably 1, 1. I'm hoping. Let's see. Yep. Just like that. See what it did? It took that original graph and it just shoved it to the right. See, this is what I put in for there, 2. See, I changed the x value of it, so the minus 1 stays up there in my in the exponent. Now, what if I wanted to change? What if I wanted to move it up and down and left or right? Let's try that. Let's try one we haven't. Let's try to move it down 1 or 2, and let's move it to the left. So what would we do with that? So y equals, I really got to think about this now. Y equals, we're still using 2, right? 2 to the parentheses. Let's move it to the left 3 places. What would I put in there if I move it to the left 3 places? X what? Plus 3, right? And now, what if I want to move it down 2 places? Put minus 2. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. 2 to the, right? Is that better? And then what did I say? I forgot already. We're going to move it to the left 3 places. Is that right? So I put plus 3. And then we're going to move it down 2 places. So I can put minus 2. All right, that hopefully should work. Let's see. Well, let's figure out what it should look like. All right. So what do you think it's going to look like? It's going to move it to the left 3 places and down 2. So if I go to the left 3 places here and down 2. So this right here, this point right here should be this point here. You follow me? Let's see if it is. I'm nervous, aren't you? See if this works. Look at that. It does, doesn't it? So this is kind of like that 0, 1 mark. It's not the origin. but it's the 0, 1 mark. So that -3, -2, -3, -2, right? Did I do that right? No, it didn't, did it? Oh, yeah, it did move it down 2 because it moved it down 2 from here. It didn't move it down to the -2. It moved it 2 from the 1. You follow me on that? So that was a little, yeah, I didn't even think about that. So it's not at the point -3, -2. It moved it to the left 3, but it moved it down 2 places, 1, 2. You see it? It didn't actually move it down to the -2 number. It just moved it down 2 places from where it was originally. So this 0, 1 right here, right, we moved it to the left 3 places, so it would be here. And then we moved it down 2 places. But we started at the 1. So if I move down 2 places, where am I going to be? I'm going to be at the -1. So right there should be at the -1. Almost got a little confused myself. So that's a little bit different because, again, our starting point is not the origin. Our starting point is that 0, 1. So there you go. Now you should be able to graph any of these exponentials. It's kind of nice that we went to this lesson. Look, we skipped a whole chapter plus a lesson, and we still kind of picked up where we left off. Wouldn't you agree? From what we did before. So that is kind of nice that it worked out that way. All right, well, the worksheet that I was going to give you today really doesn't have a whole lot of this on there. I think I had it planned to do some other things as well. So we'll do those other things tomorrow, and I'll give you a worksheet tomorrow, and we'll do some homework tomorrow on this stuff. Okay? All right, that's it.